I think I really realized what has gone on. I think I see now why we are no longer a United States of America, or at least we're united in name only. When doing that video series, the two-parter about video games, real life media violence and real life violence, and how there's absolutely no link whatsoever to either between those two things. You gotta we gotta remember there was a time when it was rock and roll. Rock and roll was the devil's music, that simply listening to it would corrupt you. That listening to it, it was a gateway. It led to Satanism. It led to drug use. It led to sexual promiscuity. Despite the fact that there was never and has never been any evidence to support this. But let's face it, a lot of the people who propose this, they're not exactly big proponents of things like facts and evidence. They don't like it, therefore they are correct. And actually, this talks of a bigger phenomena, one that I will actually be talking about later on tonight, called overconfidence when it comes to knowledge, evidence, and science, where, nobody is 100% immune from being overconfident, but you can be confident. But sometimes you can be overly confident in your information, and no matter what kind of counter arguments, counter evidence, what have you is presented, the person is still likely to hold on to their beliefs because they are overconfident in the information they have. See also the anti-vaccination movement, which was part of how I came upon this particular part of research. People will take things that aren't peer-reviewed. People will take things that aren't reproducible. See Andrew Wakefield's autism scare and his study. And they will take it on as gospel no matter what you say. But it goes deeper than that. There used to be a point where we could manage that in our country, in our nation, in our everything. I don't ascribe to the idea that we've all suddenly become insane, nor do I ascribe to the notion that we've also all suddenly become unable to be responsible civil adults. I'm coming to the realization, and I think one could easily follow me along this path, that we're simply angry. We're fed up. And instead of taking this learning experience, this moment, to take a step back and say to ourselves, is this how the other side that I have at times bullied due to my overconfidence in information that I have acquired over time, is this what it felt for them? And it's sad. I'm not saying that the other side, the oppressed side, when they rub it in the faces of those who were once their oppressors and who are now the oppressed, is okay. No, there is nothing about that that is okay. There's nothing about that that makes it right, which is also going to be part of the theme of tonight as well, when we talk about a story that frankly just floored me at how very emotionally involved the writer was while trying to claim that they weren't emotionally involved. I don't get how that works, but anyways. We're mad. We're mad, and instead of taking those hurt feelings, instead of taking the time to look at our situation, to take a look around us, not just at our computer screens, not just at our TV screens, not just at the things that we use to try to educate ourselves. And yes, I would put myself in that category on some levels. I'm not immune, I'm a human. But I'm willing to acknowledge when I'm wrong. I'm willing to alter what I've talked about and present new information when I'm wrong. But does that necessarily make me better than most of you who tend to be a brick wall when it comes to new ideas? Not exactly. And for me to claim that it would is bad on my part, because then how am I any better than the worst of your community? I'm not. If I do that, and I do it unapologetically. And that's where we are at today. All of our political anguish, all of our economic anguish, as well as the anguish pushed on us by society. Oh, you don't have the newest iPad? Hey, Frank, this guy's got a Generation 1 iPad. Who the hell does that? Or, oh, you're not driving the latest car and the latest technology. You don't have the latest this or the latest that. Why, I just upgraded to the 680Z wall-mounted TV that's literally a wall. Now I can watch my games and my porn in such a scale that if I wanted to, I could climb inside that vagina. Because it is vagina I like, not the cock. All of the stresses, all of the expectations, gender roles, sexual equality, how we measure up, how we don't measure up, or at least how we're supposed to measure up by society's standards and how much we don't fit into that measure up. The fact that we're accepting new ideas that for the longest time were taboo, such as being sexually open, sexual self-esteem, homosexuality, hell, even a fair, even-handed look at things like pedophilia, what it is, how it impacts us, and what we can actually do about it rather than just making tougher laws that hurt everybody. Things that people are uncomfortable with. So it's not just anger, it's an uncomfortableness because we feel like we've lost control. We feel like we're being dragged into a change that we are unable to make or unwilling to make. And it's here that I realize a long buried talk that I've meant to have with most of you. I want to say to you, my enemies, I don't hate you. I barely dislike you, because at one point in my life, I was you. And I was stuck. I was stuck in my life. I was stuck in my self-loathing. I was stuck in so many places, unwilling to take even the slightest step on a journey that I needed to take to become a more well-rounded person, somebody who's willing to say, hey, I was wrong, my bad, here's the new information. Or somebody who's even willing to stand up here and talk to you and not be afraid to voice my opinion and let my opinion be criticized, and to take on the constructive criticism and to ignore those who just simply have nothing better to do and feel that, aha, here's a target, he's got thinning hair and society says he should have bigger, fuller hair. I'm going to make fun of him. Watch this, Frank. I'm going to call him bald. Watch him lose his shit. Pardon my language. I think we are, to a degree, where we need to be, America. We're letting our emotions out, men and women. Unfortunately, we're also becoming violent because of it, which is not the best, but you know what? Can we really blame some of these people? When we've ignored the socioeconomic, when we've ignored the issues with the mental health care system, when we've ignored all the things that we're supposed to be on watch for. But the more important part that I want to leave on here is I understand where you're coming from. I cannot share your opinions, however, simply because I know that my opinions, my ideals oftentimes come from the old me, the old place, that me that was several me's ago. But I understand that it can be painful. It can be anxiety creating. It can be scary to step out of the known, out of the things that you consider a norm, and to try to walk towards these newer worlds, especially if you simply cannot wrap your heads around it. Not that I'm calling you stupid, just simply that certain things eventually get beyond our grasp. We grow older, we grow not always wiser, and sometimes things just pass us by, but it's not our fault. It's not our issue. It's just how nature and life works. But to let the pain, to let the adjustment pepper your world, to let the world pass you by because you are not relevant anymore. You've taken yourself out of the relevancy. Well, that's not the world's fault. I understand how it can be. And I don't blame some of you for not changing. It's been hard for me to take these adjustments, but it's been necessary for me as a person. Otherwise, I'm not growing. If I'm not growing and I'm raising somebody who is still growing, both mentally and physically, then I'm not doing my job as a parent, as a responsible human being. And there comes a point where there's only so much that my understanding can excuse you for before personal responsibility, your personal responsibility, not everybody else's, comes into play here. I don't want you as my enemy. I would rather you were my ally so that we could work towards a mutually beneficial new world that works better than the broken one we do have now. That is all I have ever tried to do. But if you still wish to oppose this, if you still want me as your enemy, then that is perfectly your choice. Beyond that, nothing more needs to be said.